Hello. Well, I felt like saying welcome back to another vlog, even though this is not a vlog. This is not a drill. But if you want to go check out my vlogs, all that's going to be linked in the description box below. But this is Britt Says How To, where we learn about how to handle things for our podcast and just how to start one, what to do to make it just the most beneficial for you at an inexpensive rate. So with that being said, let's jump into it. So this is Britt Says How To get guests on your show. You know, obviously the number one thing is to email them, but that's obvious. You know what I'm saying? When I say get guests on your show, I mean how to get the right guest on your show, how to make sure it happens. Because for instance, you know, I see videos where they be like, how to get big podcasters on your show. Look, if you just starting, you don't got no listeners, you got what, about a cute 600 500 followers on Instagram, no big podcasters coming on your show. I'm gonna just tell you that straight up. Like, it is what it is. No big podcasters coming on your show. But that's fine. You can still email them and we'll jump into why in a few. So your first step is figuring out what this episode is going to be about. I'm not sure. Maybe some podcasters do it differently. I just want to sit back. Maybe some podcasters do it differently, where they find somebody they want on their show and then they just pick the topic that day. But I don't think that's ideal, because sometimes, for instance, a lot of people are very what's the word I'm trying to think of? They're very they're not as vibrant as they are on their podcast. So some people like to prep before they get to the show and things like that. They like to know what they're going to talk about. They need a heads up so that they're not just stumbling over their words. Some people are really good. Like, you could throw a topic at them and they're like, yo, let's jump into it. But I think most appropriately, find out what episode you want them on. Once you find out what episode you want them on, let's say you want to talk about cheating, right? What I do is I go, and let's say if you want to start cheap, yes, do it within your city. So for me, when I did season 2, I had guests on every show, every episode. And I put in the hashtag NYC podcasters. So for me, I started looking at the podcasters, research these podcasters. I started looking at the podcasters, and I started looking at people. So the first thing you need to do, let's step back, is figure out what topic you're gonna need a guest on the show for. So find your topic. That's step 1. Step 2, search hashtags in your city, NYC podcaster. So I'm from NYC, so I put NYC podcaster. If you're from Houston, put Houston podcaster, Texas podcaster. If you're willing to, you know, drive to a different city or whatever the case may be, put that hashtag in. Check out the podcasters in your city. Once you check out some podcasters, start looking at their numbers. Make sure to see that their numbers align with your numbers, because to be honest with you, people are really big-headed. People are really, and maybe they don't want to waste their time with you. And hey, it is what it is. That's fair. Whatever. They feel like they work hard, you need to work hard too, to get your followers, to get your listeners, or whatever the case may be. That's fair. Make sure their numbers align with yours, because if they have 10,000 followers on Instagram, they most likely have way more listeners than you. You know what I'm saying? And they're not gonna email you back. So don't try to put all your eggs in one basket with this dope podcaster, thinking that they're going to answer you when it comes to, you know, your episode or whatever the case may be. So the thing you need to do is search the hashtag of your city for podcasters, right? Another thing you can do also is search the topic. So if I want to do an episode about cheating, I could put in the hashtag cheating, or infidelity blogger, like something, because you want somebody that's going to be really knowledgeable in that topic. For me, get guests on your show that are impactful, that can speak to the topic. You don't want people on the show that's going to come over on there and just be talking a leap of nonsense. You want people who are knowledgeable in the topic, who you feel like will bring something to the plate. Listen to their podcast, you know. That's another step. Listen to the podcast of the person you might be interested in. See what their personality is like. You know, for me, when I look for podcasters, I look for people who are just as real as me, who have outgoing personality, who have a tendency to be maybe funny. Depending on what the topic is, I don't need that. I might be more big on knowledge, depending on what the topic is. But for the most part, I'm looking for people who are exciting and fun, because I know that when we get on camera, when we start recording, when we start chatting, it's going to be a ball of fun. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I want for my listeners. So when you search the hashtag, the third thing you need to do is listen to their podcast and see if they align with your personality, if they align with your podcast. Also, what if you the type of podcaster that like to curse and you like to be crazy and outlandish, and they're very like conservative? When they get around you, they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, this doesn't align with my brand. You wasting time emailing people. Now, once you find the podcaster you like, you email them. But now let's step back. So you think like, oh my God, I found the perfect podcaster for my episode. And I had to learn this when I started getting guests on my show. Do not put all your eggs in one basket with one podcaster. I literally had wrote down all the episodes that I wanted to do for season 2. And then I had wrote all the guests I was going to have on each episode. I keep saying show, on each episode. Thinking all these people was going to write me back. No, sweetie. No, sweetie. They're not going to all write you back. You guys, when you start taking podcasting seriously, you're going to have to be a tough cookie, because at the end of the day, your time is valuable. For me, my show is seasonal. So if I want to start recording January, February, I need these guests to say that, look, I could be here January 5th, record with you at 5 p.m. and I need them to be serious. It is what it is. So it was podcasters that I literally emailed. Like, for instance, it'll be what's today? November 26th, or whatever the case may be. I won't hear back from them until December 26th. Now that's why, and then also, I don't know how a lot of you guys podcast. Some people do podcast episodes every day. I don't know how you guys do it. I don't know how you guys do it. Shout outs to you. Or you do it bi-weekly, whatever the case may be. You need to be trying to get these guests a month in advance. That's serious. Like, I don't start recording season 3 until January, February. I have started emailing them in the middle of November. That's how serious it is. Because a lot of people, to me, they don't value time. Me, I check my email every day. Our emails are on our cell phones. So I check my emails every day. I respond very quickly. That's just me. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of these podcasters, they take 2 weeks to answer you, a month to answer you, 3 days. I think, for me, a 2 to 3 day window is the cap. I understand that, you know, a lot of people are really not socially there. Meaning, when I say that, like I said, some people jump in front of a camera, some people jump on a podcast and they're just like, guys. But in person, they're really like, yes. So they don't really want to be on a podcast episode. They don't really want to link with people they don't know. That's why, like, sidebar, when Summer was saying she has social anxiety, I did believe her. Like, I really do believe her. I think a lot of people just, they're one way by themselves and they're another way in front of camera. So I think that a lot of people was kind of like nervous to come on the show or talk, or they were scared they wouldn't know what to say or do. And that's fine, I guess. But like, you know, is this serious or is this a hobby? And you gotta understand that too. Some of these podcasters might just be having a podcast for a hobby. I mean, a podcast is mad chill. You record an episode, you load it up, and that's what it is. I mean, hey. So with me, I had to learn that for season 3 that's approaching now, that I cannot put all my eggs in one basket. I can't. I don't have that type of time. You know what I'm saying? Especially working and stuff. And I really don't want to wait for you to respond. Like I said what I said. I don't want to wait. I'm not gonna wait a week. Like, so if you want to be serious, I'm really setting y'all up for success, because I definitely made that mistake season 2, but I got season 2 done. You definitely want to email more than one podcaster, and if they get upset that you respond late or you don't respond at all, it is what it is. And for me, so if you want to do an episode about cheating, you need to find at least 3 to 4 podcasters to email for that one episode, or just 3 to 4 podcasters that could talk about any episode. Like me, if you ever want to have me on your show, I'm willing to talk about anything. So if you had the vision to have me on a cheating episode or whatever the case may be, but somebody answered first for that episode, now you willing to put me on the episode about, I don't freaking know, the election. Honey, I'm here. She's arrived. Let's talk. Let's chat. You know what I'm saying? So definitely, definitely email more than one podcaster for one episode. You're going to have to email mad podcasters. I had one podcast that I emailed to do a certain episode, right? No lie, I am not lying. Okay? They were based out in New York City. They took 2 months. 2 months. 2 months to get back to me. I literally emailed them. I told them what date I want them, and they could just give me a time. You know, I give the podcasters a week. So I'd be like, look, I'm available this week. Which day would you like to film or record, and what time? I work around my guest schedule. I don't let them work around mine. I have seen podcasters who definitely say, look, we only record Saturdays, Sundays, 2 to 3. What's up? What's happening? Are you available? I'm about to be on that wave too for season 3. I get it 100%. So I wrote that. You know, like, I wrote them, and I gave them a week window in June. These people definitely did not get back to me till July, and they said, we would like to film with you. They were going back and forth with me, but it took them that long to get back to me. Like, I think, honestly, it was like 2 months. I think they didn't get back to me till like August. The season came out September 23rd. Like, honey, that episode was already filmed. Like, I thought I was going to wait around for y'all. And then she was like, or he, because it was 2 podcasts. Oh, we really worked around our schedule for you and tried to figure everything out. No, you didn't. If I emailed you this day and you took 2 months to answer me back. And remember, the people that I emailed were in my range. So I'm looking at their follower count. I'm looking at their podcast, listening to their podcast, looking at how much episodes they have and things like that. Everybody I work with easily had to be on my podcast level. I kept it real with myself or whatever. So if you, and they wasn't even putting up uploads like that. So that's another thing you got to pay attention to. When you go on their page, see when was the last time they put up a post, because that's another way to waste your time. Because if they're not podcasting no more, then what was the point of you even emailing them? So you have to pay attention to, are they still currently, you know, podcasting or whatever the case may be. So that's that on that. So make sure you email several podcasters for the season. If you don't answer, and you're going to pick who answers first. Some cases you might really want a certain guest real bad, and you just going to pray that they answer back. Like, I have about 3 guests that I really want this season. Like, I don't want to email nobody else. I want them to answer me back ASAP. But, you know, it don't always work out like that, and that's fine. But whoever answers you back first, that's your top priority. Because if somebody answered you back within 3 days of the email, and then the other person answers you back in 2 weeks, they can't get mad if you don't answer them back. Because they could probably be like, oh, dang, she forgot about me, or she bad. And that is what it is. Like, I said what I said. I'm not answering you back. We're done. We moved on. Like, you cannot... Like, people gotta understand time is valuable, especially if we all starting podcasters. I'm a small podcast. I can see if you, even big podcasters have assistants and stuff like that. Now, let's step back. Let's step back is my thing. Let's jump into that. People have a lot on their plate. I get that 100%. For instance, for me, I would send out emails. Sometimes I might send a grammatical error. Sometimes I might make mistakes, whatever the case may be. I'm very, very human. I literally like I said, I answer emails really quick, but that's something you should definitely not do. Just wait till you get home to answer the email. I'll answer an email straight at work. Like, read it, get mad hype, answer my emails. So just be mindful of that when you're doing this. That's why I say give everybody, like, what I think a person should answer back within 3 days. What most likely you should do is wait a week. I think you should give it a week window. Because, come on, like, a week, 7 days. Like, you read the email, figure it out. Like, you don't have to give me a specific date. Like, oh, can I do it this day? Like if you're watching this and you have been asked to be a guest, tell them, like, look, I'm not available that week, but I'm available this week. Just tell them what time you're available if they give you a week and you can't do it that week. Just say what time you're available at minimum. Just answer. If you don't want to do it, then fine, don't answer. Like, nobody's losing sleep. So, like I said, make sure you email several podcasters, and you don't have to limit yourself to podcasters as well. So don't limit yourself to just podcasters. I had to learn that last season too. This season, I definitely will not be limiting myself to just podcasters. I had teamed up with another podcast called the Non-Corporate Girls, and she was just telling me how, like, they get certain types of guests. They get comedians, they get this, that. I had John Bills on my season 2. He's a rapper, he's an artist, you know, but he could speak to certain stuff. We're all human, we can speak to mad certain stuff. So I want authors, people who looking to write a book. I want bloggers. I don't freaking know, a store owner. Like, I'm not gonna put the podcasters into one window. Also, what I noticed too, you email some of these podcasters to be on your show, they never offer you to be on theirs. So it's just like a weird spectrum and things like that. So, and the thing is, I think what's funny is, like, they want to wait and see if you get big and they ask you to be on their show. Like, nah, we're not doing that. Like, if you want me, take me now. Take me when I'm a little bug, a little pea-sized podcast. You know what I'm saying? I have time. My availability is open. But yes, that's one thing you cannot do. Limit yourself to just podcasters. Even though it's smart to have podcasters, because they're most likely going to promote it on their thing, and the people that they follow or that follow them like podcasts. But, you know, it's not necessarily true. The other thing, this is something that isn't the most inexpensive, but it could be fun depending on the type of person you are. Get out your city. I have to learn that, you know, for season 3, I'm gonna get out my city. I'm not gonna go too far. I ain't got money like that. But get out your city, and let me tell you why. Like I said, I live in New York City, right? So last season I had a bunch of New York City podcasters on my show. Oh, and I had went to LA last season. So we'll jump into that. And majority of my listeners were New York listeners. You from New York, your followers is from New York, everybody's from New York. So now majority of your listeners are from New York. How are you going to grow your podcast if only people from your city or your state listen to your podcast, and there's 50 states in the country? How? So you might have to jump out your state. And now if you team up with a podcaster from Tennessee or from Chicago or from South Carolina, they're gonna promote that episode on their page for the most part. Hopefully they do. Some people do, some people don't. Well, all my podcasters promoted the episode. They're gonna most likely promote it. They're gonna talk about it, whatever. They're gonna tell their friends and family, like, yeah, this podcaster, Britt says hit me up. They're gonna show your Instagram. I sure would do that. Like, oh yeah, this girl hit me up. This is her podcast, blah, 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 blah. Even if you get 1 or 2 listeners, now you got 1 or 2 listeners from a different state. You're growing your brand that way. If you keep yourself in one pot, one state, how are you going to grow your brand? How are you going to grow your podcast? You know what I'm saying? So eventually you might have to step out your spectrum just to grow the podcast. Like, just network, and don't just network in your city. Yes, I happen to live in New York City. It's a big city. Like, people from New York City might know somebody in this city and that person. So yes, I am lucky to live in a city that's very networky. But like I said, I still want to grow Britt Says on a different level, and you guys should want to grow your podcast on a different level, and you might have to step out and, go travel and team up with other podcasters from different states and things like that. I had went to LA, and that's what you could do too. Like when you're about to go on vacation, let your friends know, like, yo, I might link up with a podcaster while we go on vacation. They're gonna come to your, you know, your room, get your light and set up, whatever the case may be, and film an episode. Why the fuck not? Like, what's up? We had went to LA for BeautyCon. And then I was thinking like, oh, I can't find a person for these certain episodes. Blah, blah. And I was like, yo, maybe I could find some podcasters in LA. And the podcasters in LA, first of all, LA is like another city that is just like, they about their business, they about their hustle. They answered the quickest. That's why I freaking love LA. Like, they're really business orientated, really want to get their career up quickly. Like, I feel like New Yorkers are LA is a little bougie too, but New Yorkers could a little bit be like, but with them, they answer quickly, vibes mad good. New Yorkers was mad good. All my guests were dope, but I'm just saying, like, on a professional level, they answered really quick. So yeah, you know, I stepped out into Cali, you know. Hopefully they tell other people in Cali. And one of the girls, she was actually from Detroit. So maybe she told her friends and family in Detroit, like, oh, blah, 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 blah. So you gotta network, you gotta step out, you gotta branch off, and you gotta do different things in order to grow your podcast. That if you're just starting your podcast, you don't have to travel. It's not that deep. You just started your podcast. Find your friends. Definitely you can use your friends and family. Your friends and family are gonna tell their friends and things like that. Your friends and family, for the most part, might be more, some cases, more supportive, more chatty about it than you think. So it's always good to have them as a guest on your show as well. And you guys are going to click differently. So having your friends and family on it. Your friends and family are going to click mad good with you because y'all really fuck with each other. Like, y'all really bang with each other or whatever the case may be. So they feel like y'all just having a conversation. So that might be one of like your greatest episodes or whatever. Like, the conversation is just going to flow so perfectly. Yeah, so definitely, you know, step out your city and your state and get in, you know, your friends and family on your podcast. Now, let's jump into getting big guests on your show. If your podcast is little, the chances of a big guest coming on your show is not going to happen. But closed mouth don't get fed. I don't see anything wrong with emailing big podcasts. Let me tell you why. Have I emailed big podcasters? Yes. Did I think they were going to write me back? No. But let me tell you what they're going to do. They're going to look at your Instagram. They're going to listen to your podcast. They're going to see who you are. If somebody email me and I never heard of their podcast and they're like, oh, be a guest on my show, whatever you put in the subject line, you like, maybe I just never heard of sis, but she might be big because why is she emailing me, right? If I got 50,000 listeners and a podcast email me, I'm thinking in my head like, oh, they must email me because we on the same level. Granted, sis, we not even on the same level. I just emailed you just to show face. So I think emailing big podcasters is a good way to really just give people, you know, to keep an eye on you. Like, to pay attention to you, to see who you are, to get downloads, to get plays, to get watches, to get views. Email them. Maybe they might say something about you. Shoot, actually, I need to listen to some podcasts from around the time I sent out them emails. Maybe they said something slick or smart about my ass. And I could bank on that. You know, they might be like, yeah, a lot of these new podcasters doing this and that, doing this and that. You know how people be just running off on the mouth. So I don't see nothing wrong with emailing the big podcaster. And maybe they might like you. Maybe they might like your personality. You want to give you a chance or give you a shout out or something like that. And that's dope and that's cool, you know. So I don't see nothing wrong with it, with emailing big podcasters, but don't expect much from it. And, you know, that's just that on that. So that's the episode. That's how you get guests on your show. I'm feeling this How to Britt Says series. In the meantime, definitely hit the subscribe button, post notifications, and go check out my podcast. Like, this series is brought to you by Britt Says the podcast. So it's just inevitable just to see what type of podcaster I am. We talk about life, we talk about dating, we talk about just trying to get it together. It's a dope podcast. Trust me. Go listen to season 1. Go listen to season 2. I will link everything in the description box below. And if you didn't see my other episodes to the series, Britt says how to start a podcast. You can definitely go and check that out. I will link that in the description box below. And you know, just check out my channel, see what you like get into it, sis. Get into it, sis and bro, king and queen, get into it. And I will see you guys next week with another Britt says how to